Hi guys. Okay, so today we are talking about ADHD. Okay, so we'll start with what ADHD what to look for in your classroom. So there's inattention and there is hyperactivity and impulsivity, and these are really the more specific behaviors um, that you're looking for, and not all kids will display all three of them. All three of them is possible. They might display two of them, or they might just display one. And so we'll get to that here in a minute. Um, Give me a minute. My slideshow has decided not to work for me. Okay, we'll just have to do this a different way because it's decided not to work. Okay. So then we have ADHD, the behavior spectrum, which has to go with uh, more or less, do the children always display the specific behaviors that I just mentioned, and kind of more or less what do they look like, or do they have to have all of them, whatnot. But the answer to that is no, they don't all display those. In fact, so usually ADHD kids fall into three categories, which they could be inattentive. I shouldn't say categories; it should be behavior. So they display one of these three behaviors, which is inattentive, which usually these are the kids that go unnoticed because they're not hyperactive and they're not impulsive. So they're not hyperactive, which means they're standing up, sitting down, can't keep still, run around the classroom kind of thing. But they're not impulsive, so they're not blurting out answers to the questions and stuff like that. So it kind of they kind of are the ones that go really unnoticed a lot. Uh, the next one is so they could be hyperactive and impulsive, but able to pay attention. So these are your kids who they're not sitting still, but they are, and they're like blurting out the answers to things, and they can't, they just act out, but they pay attention. So really they're more kind of disruptive to your classroom, but they're smart in everything. They're still, I'm not saying that the other ones are not smart, they are, but it's hard for them to pay attention and remember things and focus on things. So so being hyperactive and impulsive, but they can pay attention. They know what you're saying, they know what rules are following, everything, but they just kind of have a hard time kind of settling down. And then the last one is actually a combination of all three. So they're inattentive, they're hyperactive, and impulsive. This is actually the most common form of ADHD, is when they display all three. It's also probably one of the easier ones to notice because of the hyperactivity, impulsivity, and the fact that they can't pay attention to you. So the IDEA category, pretty much where do they go? Their ADHD is not a specific learning disability. It falls under other health impairment for these students. So if you're doing an IEP for the student, it goes under other health impairment. because it's not a specific learning disability. It can kind of affect everything. Okay, so the kids who have ADHD right now, who are currently being served, so far, that is the numbers are about 5.4 million students or children are currently being served who have ADHD listed as their other health impairment. That's about 8.4% of children. Kind of a pretty high number if we think about it. Um, so then we're going to look at like changes in numbers and why. So why has this number, what have been the changes? And it's actually increased. It increases by about 1 million every 4 years, according to the CDC. So that is about 250,000 a year. The reasons, so Dr. Hicks has an article published in Psychology Today, and he lists some of the reasons for this increase, and he attributes it to there's possibility of poor sleeping habits of children. Children really like structure, and more and more families are becoming unstructured. Lack of playing outside, also coupled with too much electronics, he believes could be an environmental factor. There's also an overdiagnosis, so too many kids that are acting out, and so automatically that becomes, oh, it's ADHD. I think that was probably a problem when ADHD first became noticeable, but I think now that we've gotten a better grasp on things, we and we know what ADHD really is and how some factors that contribute to it and stuff that the overdiagnosis is not so much anymore. Another thing that Dr. Hicks talks about is parents and teachers wanting children to just sit still. Also academic excellence. So we're we have these kids in class who their teacher doesn't know what to do with them because they're running around or they're shouting out answers or they just can't sit still and fidgeting everywhere. And so they're looking to give them some sort of pill to just make them just chill and sit and just kind of focus, do their work, and make everybody's day kind of just as smooth as possible. So that could lead to an overdiagnosis, just trying to get children medicine. So here's some, aside from maybe just automatically just giving them a pill and everything, here's some classroom ideas that you could use. So minimum directions and have them written down somewhere as a reference. This really helps the kids who are inattentive because they can keep on referring back to these directions. You can also do this with rules so they can go back to rules and know what they're supposed to be doing. And break down tasks. Don't be like, okay, here's a project, do all of it. Break it down. Okay, today we're going to work on this. Tomorrow we're going to work on something else, and this will bring this project together. So kind of just break down things so that they're not just overwhelmed with having to do so much at once. Routines are really important because they'll get used to it, so they kind of know what is expected of them. They get into a good flow with it, and they're like, okay, I've got this. We're good to go. The next would be organized. So this helps with establishing routines. This also helps with um, the kids, because if you have calendars down, they know what's coming up next. They know what to expect. Um, they're they've got this. Um, then there's and then also go along with organization, you could use color-coded folders, which I know it's actually very popular. So like math is like blue and writing is green and science is red and kind of stuff like that. So make it color-coded so that they know what class it goes to, and this is consistent kind of thing. Also clean out desks often because stuff tends to get shoved in there. This is actually good for a classroom in general because a lot of things get stuck into desks. Seating arrangements is another intervention with ADHD students. Put them close to the teaching, so put them up front, put them next to the desk. It'll help. Also, make sure that you have desks that you can move for ADHD students. They need their own desk. Also, it really helps for them because they get distracted so easily that you'd like distance the desks, so they can kind of have their own space and just be looking at their own work. And a big one, which actually helps with a lot of students, no matter what, is rewards. And they usually kids respond really well to rewards as they progress and do what they're supposed to and everything. A couple helpful websites for this kind of stuff to kind of get more detailed about ADHD is helpguide.org. There's also childmind.org. And Psychology Today has a couple articles, especially the one from Dr. Hicks. But it's psychologytoday.com. And then, like I said, CDC is where you can really get more of your numbers and your statistics and everything. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening. Have a wonderful day.